Alright, so Squid Game Season 3 is officially confirmed as the final chapter in the series, and that means one thing. Fans are already speculating about how it will all end. Over the past 2 seasons, we've seen shocking plot twists, brutal betrayals, and unexpected character developments. Now, with Season 3 wrapping up the story, theories are everywhere about Gi-hun's fate, the future of the Squid Games, and whether the system can actually be taken down. In this video, we're going to break down the wildest and most logical fan theories surrounding Squid Game Season 3. If you're wondering how Squid Game might conclude, this is everything we know so far. One popular theory is that Gi-hun could be forced back into the Squid Games for a second time. Given how Season 2 ended, this seems like a real possibility. By the finale, Gi-hun was in the hands of the frontman after his attempt to stop the games failed. If the frontman wants to make an example of him, throwing him back into the competition would be an obvious choice. If that happens, the big question is, how will Gi-hun handle it this time? In Season 1, he barely made it through and his win came at a huge cost, losing close allies like Ali and Se-byok. If he's forced to play again, he'd likely face the same brutal choices, forming connections only to be put in situations where he has to turn against them. Since Squid Game is known for setting up emotional bonds before tearing them apart, we could see more devastating betrayals and sacrifices. The problem with this theory is that it might feel too repetitive. We've already seen Gi-hun survive the games once, so watching him go through the same ordeal again might not have the same impact. It could also mean that many of the new characters from Season 2 end up with similar fates, making the story predictable. If the writers go down this path, they'd need to shake things up to keep it fresh. If Gi-hun does return to the games, there are ways to make it different. He could take a more strategic approach this time, using what he's learned to manipulate the system from the inside. The structure of the games themselves could also change, introducing new challenges that force players to adapt in unexpected ways. While it's not impossible for the show to bring Gi-hun back into the competition, it would need a new angle to avoid feeling like a repeat of Season 1. Given how Squid Game thrives on twists and surprises, it's unlikely that the final season would follow the exact same formula. Another possible direction for Squid Game Season 3 is a much darker, more realistic ending, one where Gi-hun's rebellion completely fails. In this scenario, the frontman and the VIPs stay in control, proving that the system is simply too powerful to be taken down by a single person. This outcome would fit with what the show has established so far. The elite have always been portrayed as untouchable, running the games without any real consequences. The VIPs in particular sit at the top, treating the competition as nothing more than entertainment. Even though Gi-hun has made it his mission to stop them, his chances of success are slim. He's outnumbered, lacks resources, and is going up against an operation that has been running for years. If Squid Game goes in this direction, the final season could follow Gi-hun making one last desperate attempt to expose the truth, only to be stopped before he can make a difference. This could mean he's captured, silenced, or even killed by the frontman. If that happens, the Squid Games would continue as usual, recruiting new players and keeping the cycle alive. This kind of ending would be in line with the show's overall themes, highlighting the massive power imbalance between the rich and the poor. However, it would likely be controversial. Many fans are hoping for some kind of resolution, and an ending where Gi-hun completely fails could leave audiences frustrated. That said, Squid Game has never been afraid to show harsh realities, and if the goal is to emphasize how difficult it is to change a corrupt system, this would be a fitting way to do it. The challenge with this type of ending is making it feel meaningful rather than just bleak. One way to do that would be to show that even if Gi-hun doesn't win, his actions spark something bigger, maybe inspiring others to continue the fight. There could also be hints that his efforts have weakened the system, suggesting that change might still be possible in the future. Ultimately, this type of conclusion would reinforce the idea that the Squid Games aren't just a deadly competition. They're a reflection of how power and wealth work in the real world. If the show wants to leave the audience with a message rather than a clean resolution, letting the frontman win could be one of the most impactful ways to do it. One of the most talked about theories is that Squid Game Season 3 could end with Gi-hun sacrificing himself to save another player. This would make sense considering how his character has evolved. He started out as someone struggling with personal failures, but over time he's become more focused on protecting others. Given the themes of the series, this kind of ending would reinforce the idea that even in a cruel, unforgiving system, acts of kindness and selflessness can still exist. A strong candidate for Gi-hun to save is Player 222, a pregnant contestant who represents the next generation. If Gi-hun gives up his life for her, it wouldn't just be about helping one person, it would symbolize hope for the future. The Squid Games are designed to strip people of their morality and force them to turn against each other, but this act would prove that the system hasn't completely broken him. From a storytelling perspective, this theory makes a lot of sense. Gi-hun has carried guilt since season 1, knowing that he survived while so many others didn't. If he willingly sacrifices himself for someone else, it could serve as his way of making peace with those choices. His death could also serve a larger purpose, maybe inspiring others to fight back, or even setting off a chain of events that leads to the games collapsing. While a tragic ending, it wouldn't necessarily mean Gi-hun failed. If his sacrifice leads to the downfall of the Squid Games, or ensures that at least one person escapes, then his actions would still make a lasting impact. It would also stay true to the show's approach of making major characters face real consequences. This type of conclusion would likely appeal to fans looking for a deeper, more meaningful ending, rather than one centered around action or big twists. It also fits with the show's broader themes, showing that individuals can resist, but real change often comes at a heavy cost. Whether or not this is the direction Squid Game takes, it remains one of the most thematically consistent possibilities for how the series could end. A new teaser for Squid Game Season 3 strongly hints at the return of the VIPs, the masked elites who secretly run the deadly tournament. While they were first introduced in Season 1, they mostly stayed in the background, appearing briefly to place bets on contestants. However, their role in the final season could be much bigger, making them more central to the story and possibly revealing more about how the Squid Games are truly operated. The VIPs are the financial and political power behind the games. They fund the entire operation, treat it as a form of entertainment, and ensure that everything remains hidden from the public. If they are returning in Season 3, it raises some big questions. Will they take a more active role in how the games are run? Will we finally learn their true identities? And most importantly, could Gi-hun get close enough to expose them? One possibility is that Season 3 will take the VIPs beyond being just passive observers and make them more involved in controlling the outcomes of the competition. In Season 1, some viewers found them to be exaggerated, almost cartoonish villains. If they are given more depth this time, the show could explore their motivations, how they maintain their power, and even potential conflicts among them. For Gi-hun, taking down the VIPs would be an even bigger challenge than stopping the frontman. While the frontman is in charge of running the games on the ground, the VIPs are the ones who keep the entire system alive. This means that even if Gi-hun manages to disrupt the games, the VIPs could simply restart them somewhere else. The only way to truly end the Squid Games would be to go after those funding it directly. This theory also supports the idea that Gi-hun might try to infiltrate the organization from within. If he finds a way to get close to the VIPs, whether by disguising himself as one of them or using another strategy, he might be able to gather evidence and bring their operation into public view. But given how powerful they are, any misstep would likely be deadly. The VIP's return also raises the possibility of uncovering new details about the history of the Squid Games. Who created them? How long have they existed? Are there similar games happening elsewhere in the world? Season 3 could expand the scope of the series by answering these questions. If Squid Game wants to deepen its social commentary, making the VIPs a bigger part of the story would be a logical move. Instead of just portraying them as mysterious figures in gold masks, Season 3 could show how corruption and power keep systems like the Squid Games running. Whether or not Gi-hun manages to take them down, their presence in the final season will likely be a major focus. So, with Squid Game Season 3 being the final chapter, there are a lot of different ways the story could end. Anyway, this season is going to change everything. Theories are still circulating, and with every new teaser or leak, we'll likely get more clues about what's coming. What do you think will happen in the final season? Will Gi-hun succeed, or will the Squid Games continue? Let us know your thoughts in the comments. And if you enjoyed this breakdown, don't forget to like, subscribe, and stay tuned for more updates on Squid Game Season 3.